Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark, April 10th of 2024. 3 games to go. We're coming to you basically post-game, minutes after the Canucks lose in overtime to the Arizona Coyotes in a game that had a bit of everything. It had some lulls, it had some good fight and a comeback, and then a penalty that ends up being the difference maker. But as always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing today, Clay?
Parker, I'm great. You like my homage to Rick Dollywall here? You like that?
It is beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that, as do you, as always. And that's not because we haven't seen each other in 2.5 weeks, but yeah, I missed doing the show. I was away last week, and then Monday we were both a bit busy. So I'm glad we were able. I wanted us to be talking about a win. Like that third period, we completely dominated them. I thought Hronek penalty shot. I know we're going to get into it. I would have loved to be talking after Canucks win, but hey, you and I were back together. We're going to the playoffs. Life is good. And I know. I was donating to Canucks for Kids. I was willing to donate more if the Canucks had won, but alas, it wasn't.
For sure. And I mean, this is a game that the Canucks should win, and frankly deserve to win 9 times out of 10, if not more. I don't know. Money Puck has the deserve to win a meter. I'm just looking at natural stat trick, and I'm seeing in all situations, even though the Canucks, I feel like the Canucks have more penalties tonight, right? Am I crazy to think that than the Coyotes
that's correct.
did?
10-8. Yeah.
10, okay. Canucks had an expected goals rate of 73% in this game, 4 to 1.5. Right. So Connor Ingram overperformed. Artur Silovs underperformed, even though, hey, it's not his job. I mean, it is his job to make those saves, but it's not his job to have to get 4 wins for this team this year. That was not part of his job description, let's say.
Very quickly, are you fine? Forget about hindsight. Are you fine with the decision to start him? I am.
Yeah, I thought they should have started him in the Kings game. Based on the way he had played previously. Frankly, DeSmith hasn't been great lately, and we'll go into that a little bit.
Sure.
Really, our plan for tonight, I know we normally break down the last week of games, but we haven't been here in really 2 weeks and 2 days. Now you might be thinking, oh no, they're going to break down like 7 hockey games tonight. No, we're not. And actually it would be 7 if we did do that. No, I think we're going to stick to 2. We're going to stick to the 2 tonight's game, which the Canucks frankly deserve to win. And then the fantastic game from Monday night against Vegas, which we would have done the show after, but Clay was at the game. So we had a bit of a disruption there. But
yeah, I think covering 2 out of 7, I'm sure that'll make the people who don't even want us to cover any, they'll make them very happy. And then we can leave time for what does the next week and a half look like? Demco, Lindholm, Shelovs, everything. We can talk about all that as we look ahead to the playoffs. So I think we're set up for a nice, quick, not rush, but quick show, because we did start about 20 minutes later than usual as well.
Yeah, 2 days and 20 minutes earlier. I do want to give a quick shout. Our first show was about 3 years ago as of this coming Friday. I think it was April 12th. Again, we always harp on how that was a really dumb decision to start in an April when the team wasn't making the playoffs. But we're hitting the 3-year mark right now, so I wanted to mention that.
Wow. And we're still friends.
And we're still fine with each other. It is great.
Pat yourself on the back, Parker. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So we'll talk about this game first. We'll break this down, a little bit of a classic, from days past, a little post game, and then we'll go into Canucks Golden Knights from Monday. We'll talk about our big storylines there, and really the big story is, look, there's 3 games left in the Canucks season, right? They play Saturday, April 13th, they play Tuesday, April 16th, and Thursday, April 18th, and we still don't know when Thatcher Demko will get a start. So that will be the latter half, essentially, of our show. Maybe a little more than half if we can get through these 2 games pretty quick.
Perfect.
Let's get it started. First period.
Cool.
Wow, what a slog. Absolutely nothing doing, essentially. I mean, Canucks, frankly, dominated the period, even though they didn't do a ton. High danger chances were 5-1, scoring chances 13-4, shots were 8-2, shot attempts were 24-11, expected goals, it's 80% to 20. Canucks had 8 shots. Arizona had 2. Super low event hockey, but it was one of those ones where you get through that period, no shots, essentially, either way. it feels like you're sort of due for one random one to come the other way and break all the momentum.
So Parker, I would love your insight on this. You watched the first period, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Wednesday night's my church night. That's why I never go to games on Wednesday night. And both my boys were there, Sean and Jacob. And I called them after the first. And then I said, how's the game? And he goes, Arizona's so boring. They only got 2 shots in net. I said, well, why haven't we scored? Well, we haven't done much. So I didn't use the term slog. They took about 3 minutes to explain what I think you just succinctly did in about 15 seconds. So it really was, it was a slog.
There was much going on. I mean, the Canucks had 2 power plays. They had a power play 30 seconds into this game. And I mean, Ferraro said it best on the broadcast. He said, look, sometimes you get a power play that early in a game and you have guys who haven't even been on the ice yet. That no one's really feeling it yet. And the Canucks did absolutely nothing on the first power play. That, by the way, Dakota Joshua drew that penalty. It was a hook. And then he drew another penalty later in the period. Moser got called on a high stick on him. This power play was much better. Canucks were genuinely snapping it around, looking really dangerous. They might have only had 1 shot if I actually think about it. Considering they only had 2 shots across the 2 power plays. So maybe they had 2 on that power play. And that was a really good looking power play. They couldn't get anything to go. And then Myers takes that penalty late in the first period, which was frankly a brutal call. I don't know if you saw the clip on Twitter.
I didn't.
Essentially Josh Doan, basically the puck gets played in the Canuck zone. And you know what happens when the one defenseman goes down the wall to get the puck, and it's puck's maybe like top of the circle, like coming towards the top of the circle. One D-man comes in, second D-man sort of comes and sets a pick. Okay. So Myers sets a pick, never touches Josh Doan, who falls, and the ref calls interference as if he had gotten a piece of him. So it's very weak penalty. So Arizona had some momentum going into the second. And then the second period, the Canucks were just asleep at the wheel. They went out, had a very slow first period, and they sort of got lulled to sleep by the Coyotes. And the Coyotes ended up striking first about 6 minutes into the period. And of course, it's a guy it's his 3rd goal of the year. It's Josh Brown. And this one's tough for Seelovs. A shot from one side ends up deflecting all the way to the far side. Seelovs just doesn't get over in time. Unlucky bounce. Coyotes have a 1-0 lead. And that's what I was talking about. Sometimes it just feels like one's going to go the other way.
So this was when I got home, Parker. So I didn't see this goal, but I watched the replay. But the way NHL.com picked it up, they picked it up right when the shot from the left point came. So was that off a face-off win, or was that after some controlled play? Do you remember?
I think that it was controlled play, if I remember correctly. I don't, and frankly, I think that's just a safe bet because the Canucks didn't lose any face-offs tonight. It felt like in the first, I think through 2 periods, they were at like 84% in the face-off circle. So I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, that was the case.
And refresh me, rebound or pass across? You said
it looked like it was a shot that got blocked and went across. If I remember correctly, it's kind of hard to pick up because the replay does literally start as the puck's going to the other guy. So
so we're not going to blame anyone here. Not even, it was just one of those bang bang plays. Then
it's a tough one. I mean, I think Demco probably gets there sometimes. But that's one of those ones where that's an elite goalie compared to a 3rd stringer.
By the way, Carol, thank you for your membership, 20 months. Yeah, thank you. And thanks to everyone for the shirt compliments. But yeah, sorry, Parker. I just want to get that in there.
No worries. Canucks get one back late in the period. And this is one of those ones that you would hope would just take momentum. It's a shot from Myers from the point off another faceoff win. Hughes over to Myers. His shot hits Miller in the skates, who's battling in front. And he's just able to slide it into a wide open net on Ingram. It's really silly seeing 72 assists next to Quinn Hughes' name on here. Crazy. And the Canucks should take that momentum, take it into the intermission and use that to build on in the third, but they get sloppy. Coyotes coming to the zone, drop pass, just a bunch of pucks missed, frankly, just swings and misses. They throw it on net and Shelovs never sees it. You see him in the crease after the puck's in, looking around for it still. This is frankly, I thought it was offside. I still think it might be. I'm gonna try to watch it in slow-mo. It's super close, but the guy's skates look ahead of the puck, but probably not conclusive enough for them to have challenged.
I'm just waiting for you to pronounce the guy's name who scored.
Oh, Kolyachonic, I'm going to guess.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a tough one. It's his first of the season, second of his career. And now the Coyotes take a 2-1 lead into the intermission.
Okay, so you're telling me that the two guys that scored for Arizona have a combined 4 goals now this season.
Yes.
Awesome. The other thing I was
and keep in mind, Kolyachonic had his first point of the season on the Josh Brown goal.
Oh gosh, he must love. Well, I know we haven't mentioned his name yet, but we will in a second. I know one guy who likes playing against us. So Parker, if I was a goalie, I just want to throw this out there. If I was a goalie, no one would ever put me in net. But if I was a goalie, and anytime someone scored me, I would just keep doing this. I would pretend that I didn't see it, even if there was no one in front of me, because it kind of gives you like an out, right? A little bit.
Well, maybe you should have better vision and do better to look around screens, I think would be the argument.
Right. Fair enough.
So going to the third period, Canucks need to get on their horse and do something here. However, Canucks come out pretty strong. Play comes back into their own zone. Only one defenseman was able to change. Quinn Hughes gets stuck on the ice.
Yeah.
He tries to do a little cut. Logan Cooley is all over him. Hughes just fans on his backhand pass behind the net. Cooley steals it, plays it in front to a wide open Dylan Guenther. And it is 3-1, just like that. Rare mistake from Quinn.
Now, when we're gonna take the good with the bad. Obviously, there's gonna be way more good with Quinn than there is bad. But yeah, it's funny. It's almost like Ray Ferraro and John Sherrod. They're really good. Obviously, they're really good announcers, broadcasters, and they said it basically right before it happened. Oh, Hughes has been out there a long time. He's tried to change, and then sure enough, And then they made a point of saying that Hughes was looking at the tablet after the goal, checking it out. So I don't think he's going to blame anyone, but maybe he was looking to make sure that to see what happened. Was his teammate in the wrong place? Was he in the wrong place? It was unfortunate, but it was a bang play. She loves it. No chance on that one.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is just he fanned on the pass.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough break. However, it's a 2-0 or it's a 2-goal lead for a team that the Canucks are a lot better than, frankly. And the Canucks have the firepower to come back in this game. It's penalty trouble though. I mean, Höglander gets that roughing call. And then Zadorov gets the tripping call, which I hate that they changed this rule, frankly. It used to be if you lay out and dive for the puck and you get the puck first and then trip the guy, that was fine. That was fair game because you made a play on the puck. They changed the rule. So Zadorov makes a beautiful play to break up the rush, but he also takes down Michelli, and the Canucks go to a kill. And then a minute and a half later, Tyler Myers cross-checks Alex Kerfoot 4 times in front of his own net. Kerfoot does go back after him with the cross-check, and I've been watching a league where retaliations get called more than their initial, but in this case, that is not what happened. So the Canucks get in penalty trouble, but do a great job to kill most of it off, and the best chance was Teddy Bluger on all of those power plays.
Parker, refresh me. Were you at the Vancouver game in Seattle in October, November? I thought you weren't down there. Bluger scored a shorty. Do you remember that in that game? Yeah. Yes. So on a breakaway. So it was very, very similar. And I can't remember.
Been like the 5-1 goal or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. And then I don't think he scored since, but it was just weird. Not weird. I don't know. Is that his go-to move? Just kind of the slow poke through the middle.
Yeah, he tried to open up the 5-hole.
Yeah.
That's what guys do when they don't have great shots, right? You try to just get the goalie open. And Connor Ingram's been good this year. He has not been the problem with the Coyotes.
Yeah.
So he makes a good save there. But the Canucks do start fighting back. And it starts with the man of the hour lately, Connor Garland. They put out the energy line, which is just Höglander with Bluger and Garland at this point. Höglander just wins every battle on the wall. Quinn Hughes walks the line, drops to Myers. He takes a shot. It ends up behind the net. And after a while, it ends up behind the net to Nils Höglander, who plays in front for Connor Garland, who's standing all by himself. And just a perfect shot from Garland in a kind of a weird spot. It's a sharp angle. And Ingram slides over, gives him enough room upstairs, and he fires it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Garland's been awesome, and I know we're gonna loop back to it, but in Vegas he was awesome. Against Vegas he was awesome. Yeah, and he just he's ready. He seems like one of those guys that we're just gonna love, Parker, in the playoffs. I just get that sense.
Yeah, he's gonna be a pest. He's gonna,
Yeah.
he's gonna get in stuff, and
Hmm.
um, like the last couple of games has been fantastic. And then Canucks get a power play. They win the faceoff. Really underrated play by Quinn Hughes to hold the line here right off that hard faceoff win. He's able to get enough of it, get it over to Pettersson. Pettersson takes his time, button hooks on the wall, plays it back to the point, gets it back, and just sort of walks in and fires at 5-hole. Ingram doesn't get down quick enough, and for a guy who's looked pretty shaky lately for the past few weeks, frankly, and for a lot of the season, he still has 34 goals, Elias Pettersson,
Yeah.
and a big one with under 4 minutes to go.
34 goals, flirting with 90 points. So if you don't worry about form, you worry about totals. He's been fine. He's been fine. And I won't get into it too much. I know a lot of people are wanting more from him, but I know a lot of the analysts are saying, well, look at his defensive play. Look at the fact that basically until now, Miller had all the good wingers and PD didn't, but whatever. We're not looking to defend him here, but yes, flirting with 90 points. Hughes hits 90 points. So pretty good stuff there. And then yes, the complete domination in this third period. And didn't you think that after PD scored that we were going to win for sure? I did.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think this game was making it to overtime, frankly.
Yeah.
The way the Canucks were piling it on, it felt like they were going to just put their head down and take it back to them and score again. But honestly, the Coyotes had a couple chances late in the third period that were a little bit stressful, but the Canucks do get it to overtime. They get the point. Shots at this point were like 23-15, so like super
Mhm.
low event for a 3-3 hockey game. But we go to
Mhm.
overtime. Frankly, not a great overtime. Arizona has possession for most of it. Canucks
Yeah.
get a couple decent chances, and then Brock Besser gets called for tripping a minute 45 in. This one in real time was like, oh, he went for the puck and took his skate out. And then they showed the replay and it looked like his stick like went into like his thigh or
I
something. And
agree.
I was like, how'd he go down like that?
Yeah.
If that's where the stick went, the officiating has been concerning lately is what I'm going to say. And
Yes.
I hate blaming officials because it all comes out in the wash, right? You're going to get
Yeah.
screwed on some calls there. You're going to get some that go your way. But that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
I'm with you. And Besser usually very calm, and he was dropping f bombs. Yeah, it didn't look good. I agree with you, and I love what you said. It wasn't the most entertaining overtime. And do you remember that time where where Arizona had it in, and I think it was Valimaki. He kind of held the puck on the boards, and then his two guys changed. I actually thought that Besser or Hughes or Miller, one of the three of them, should have jumped
They could have jumped
him.
in. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he was right by the blue line too, like on the
Yes.
far
Yes.
wall. And yeah,
Yeah.
he goes to the wall and he holds it and there's two guys changing. I'm like, "Hey, at this moment you're 3-on-2."
Yeah.
Right? If you double team this guy and put him on the wall, it's
Yeah.
either going to come out or it's going to come back the other way. And worst case, you maybe have a 2-on-1 against you. But best case, you chip it out, and then you can get a full scale change, which they did not do. They were very, very passive on that penalty.
Exactly. So, and they were so passive, and that's when Gunther came in with speed, and the best had to trip him. Okay, so set us up. So now we're killing a penalty, and then we get again the best chance.
Yeah, Phil Hronek breaks out, goes for a skate, and Nick Schmaltz does not care about subtlety on this one. He breaks out the water skis. He just hooks Hronek, leans back. It's just like, no, you're not going. And Hronek goes down. Frankly, my initial thought was like, that's got to be a penalty shot. And then after they called it, I'm like, I would have rather just the 2 minutes, I think, because you have Phil Hronek, who, look, he's not the guy they're picking in shootouts. I'll tell you that. The best guys in shootouts are 40 to 50%. So you got to imagine Hronek's going to be like a 20% guy.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, okay, so we now have a 20% chance to win the game right here. And if not, they still have a 24-second power play, right?
Yeah.
And that ends up being the difference. Hronek goes in on the penalty shot, fakes the clapper a little too deep, I think. Tries to just outweight him on the glove side. Had a bit of space 5-hole if he tried to try to slide it through. But on that play, you're trying to just get it over the goalie. So that's unfortunate. Canucks lose the face-off, and then Arizona comes the other way, and it's after the penalty expires. But It's overtime, so it's the same as the second period side. So Brock Besser has the long skate from the far penalty box, doesn't
Yeah.
have time to even get back in the play before Logan Cooley from Dylan Gunther ends it on a nice little backdoor pass from Gunther, and that'll do it.
And it's not. And Lucas, we'll get to your donation in a second when we transition from this game. Thank you, Lucas. Yeah, Besser's not the fastest skater. We know that, but it's funny, Parker. Like we didn't even see him enter the frame. Like he didn't even
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, so that goal was scored at 3:51.
Yeah,
That's 6 seconds
that's what I mean.
after the penalty.
That's what I mean.
That's a little too long, I think, for maybe
At least
the door was stuck.
I don't know.
Do we know that the door opened?
Yeah, anyone at the game or someone with a wide angle lens, yeah, tell us. But yeah, I honestly, I'm not just joking. I was totally expecting to see flying in, like tackling a defenseman or just flying into the slot, but we didn't even see him.
Yeah, maybe he was playing for the breakaway pass.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's true. That's true. And yeah, and it's game of inches, right, Parker? It goes through Cole, just past Bluger, and then of course, yeah, Cooley with a nice play. Yeah, he didn't get all of it. He didn't need to get all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's so many plays that the Canucks had that were similar that they just didn't get all of it, right? Especially in the third period. All those shots that just got tipped wide. So the Canucks lose this one. They do get a point in the standings, so that's good. And a game that, look, I'm going to get the number from Money Puck on what their like deserve to win-o-meter is.
Sure.
Which is, it's going to even out. It's evening out 85%. Yeah, the Canucks win 85% of the time in their simulations based on that game, which makes sense, right? Expected goals were, 4 to 1 or whatever it was. So, just this one didn't go their way. And look, Thatcher Demko's in net. Canucks win this game every time. That's the difference.
That's fair. That's fair. Yes, as we move to another game, thank you, Lucas, for this $5 donation. Bye-bye, Arizona. That may have been the last time the Canucks would ever play the Arizona Coyotes before they relocate to Salt Lake City. Yeah, that came out of nowhere today, like hot and heavy and fast.
Yeah, it was bizarre, especially with the Coyotes Twitter account being so adamant for the last 3 weeks. Like, we are going to win this land auction. We are going to stay in Arizona forever. And then Frank Saravalli is like, hey, what if you guys move before the land auction even happens? Because that seems to be the boat that they're taking, which is absolutely bizarre. Terrible ownership that they've had throughout their tenure. And the guy's going to make $700 million off of this move, off of owning the team poorly for 6 years or whatever it's been. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, that's enough said. Lucas, thank you very much for the donation, for your generosity. Okay, so maybe the last time we see Arizona and as Arizona, but at least we got a point. We are still 4 up on Edmonton, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Let's talk about the win, a win that I was completely hopeful for, but surprised by, considering just 6 days earlier how we laid a big fat one when we played in Vegas.
Yeah, this one started out tough, right? It's the early penalty that the Canucks have been harping on, like Rick Tocchet's been harping on. It's Brock Besser taking that penalty early in this game. And it's just a weak one that sneaks through. It's Jack Eichel skating down the middle, takes a shot, sneaks under the arm of Shilov's less than 2 minutes in on the power play. It was the Jack Eichel show in this game, because a few minutes later, just off of a normal breakout, Vegas comes in the zone. They set up. Somehow, both defensemen commit to the one side. Carson Soucy is completely lost, while Jack Eichel, maybe a guy you don't want to leave all by himself on the far side of the ice, gets a pass and scores. And this game felt over 8 minutes in.
I agree. I was there, Parker, as you know. Obviously, it was like I felt like I was back in Vegas again. And Shilov's bad in the first goal. Second one, the Canucks were fine. Like, it was Soucy, it was Myers, and Petey. They all had one guy each. So I don't know what Soucy was doing, cutting over to the left side, leaving Eichel, of all guys, wide open. It was strange.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It made no sense.
No sense.
Canucks go to the power play, though, a few minutes later, and they get one back, and it is Connor Garland This one was a Hughes shot from the point, and just a mess of bodies. Logan Thompson lies down, tries to cover it. Garland finds it, slides it in behind his back before he can get all the way down. Um, Timely goal, one the Canucks needed, and the power play gets some work done.
Yeah, this power play looked good in that game, Parker. The movement and unpredictable to the point where you had the two biggest guys on the team, PD and Garland, serving as screens for every goal.
Yeah. And then a minute later, Dorofeyev clips Quinn Hughes in the chin. So the Canucks go back to the power play, and it is Quinn Hughes. Just a rocket from the point. Elise Pettersson again and Connor Garland all over the screen on this one. Like, no way for the goalie to see it. Logan Thompson immediately is like looking at the official doing one of these where neither of them were in the blue paint at all. Neither of them made contact. It's a great shot, seeing eye. And the Canucks get out of the first period in this one in a tie game.
And you know what's funny, Parker? Obviously, I was poking a little bit fun about the stature, the physical stature of Garland and PD. I had Patrick Johnson on my show last night, and what he was saying is that PD is way bigger than the stats say. He's way bigger than he might even look. So even though you might joke around that Thompson's big, it seems like he can just look over them around them. He said, no, PD, because he's smart and he's bigger than we expect. He's perfect for net front, he was saying. Kind of interesting take. Yeah.
So yeah, 2-2 going into the second period. Vegas gets one about halfway through the period. It is on the power play, and it's early on the power play. They win the face-off, a Hanifin shot. I think this go off of Bluger, or does it go straight through?
I go straight through. Yeah.
I think it's straight through. It's a shot that gets through. So Vegas gets the lead back, but a few minutes later, Brock Besser, and this is such a nice goal. I mean, he comes off the wall. He's coming down the right wing, doesn't really have a play in front, so he button hooks to create some space. And almost every time, every player is just playing this back to the point. However, there is a Vegas player coming onto the ice that is putting a little bit of pressure on the defense. So he just takes it himself, cuts to the middle, where you'd expect the drop pass, but 49 for Vegas is covering that drop pass completely. So Besser just skates to the middle, pivots, and fires a shot through. Once again, Elias Pettersson with a screen that looked like goalie interference in real time. But upon, the replay, he is in the crease, but Logan Thompson should have initiated contact and never did. And that one gets through clean.
Yeah. Parker, if I'm going to make fun of Besser's lack of speed on tonight's game-winning goal for Arizona, I got to be about equal opportunity. For this one, he surprised me because you're right. Usually a player not so fleet of foot like him, there's no way he should be able to come off the boards, as you said, button hook, and still get to his forehand and get a good shot off. But he did all of those things. It was a brilliant goal. It was great.
Great goal. And that's his 40th of the season, something none of us saw coming, which is fantastic. Ties the game at 3. And then the Canucks keep it coming. And this time it is Connor Garland. This play from Garland is so sweet. So Joshua plays it to the middle for a shot from JT Miller, and it sort of gets deflected or just sails high. But during this, Connor Garland is like in a battle in front of the net, ends up half falling, spinning off the side of the net and around the net at the same time as the rebound off of the glove of Thompson lands right there next to him. And he just beats everyone to the puck. It's such a sweet goal from Garland.
Yes. He made himself one with the net, didn't he? Like no wasted movement. He just kind of rolled himself all the way around the net.
Yeah. The behind the net camera angle on this is great. I actually just noticed that Logan Thompson is a left-handed goalie. That's weird. Because that shot went off of his glove, which is his right hand. But just so opportune. There's so many bodies there, and he just finds it. And that ends up being the last goal of the game. The Canucks win at 4-3. Third period was just good Canucks shutdown hockey, frankly. This is a win that felt really, really good. It had everything, right? You have Brock Besser getting his 40th on the day that Connor Garland gets his 100th career goal and 101st. during his 400th game, where there's the talk about JT Miller getting the t-shirts and everything. It's JT Miller getting his 100th point of the season. It's Quinn Hughes breaking more records, of course. It had everything. And the comeback to add it all up against Vegas, who you might be facing in the playoffs, if not in round 1, probably round 2. It was a perfect game for the Canucks on Monday.
Yeah, and let's pretend we don't know what happens tonight. Yes, you win that game. You say 4 games left. Okay, maybe if we play Vegas in the playoffs, it won't be so bad. We're 2-2 against them, and we've shown that we can beat them. Is not handily, but we can beat them. And as you said, all the nice milestones, and it felt really, really good. By the way, Trevor, I like this. Just looping back to the Arizona game, someone at the game said it looked like the penalty box person didn't realize the penalty was ending and wasn't ready to open the door. That makes sense, right?
If that's the case, we're protesting the result of this game. Brock Besser would have made it back. He can skate. Brock Besser can definitely skate from the penalty box to his own net in 6 seconds. Because think of fastest skater, they do a whole lap of the ice in like 13 and a half. In half that time, Besser can skate, what would that be, 110 feet at most? That's okay. We blame the NHL, and the Canucks should get 1.5 points for this game.
Exactly. And we probably won't see a good replay, Parker, because obviously all the attention was on the Canucks end because they're frantically trying to kill off those last 6 seconds. 5 seconds. Yeah.
So that takes us. Let's pull up the old NHL standings.
Let's do that.
The Vancouver Canucks have 3 games remaining. They sit atop the Pacific Division with the Edmonton Oilers 4 points back with 2 games in hand. Now, if you're good at math, you can earn up to 2 points in a game, which means the Oilers technically at this moment, because the Canucks play against Edmonton before the end of the season, which is the 13th. That's Saturday's game, which is the Canucks' next game. Technically, both of these teams control their own destiny at this moment. If the Canucks win out, there's no way for Edmonton to catch them. If the Oilers win out, that would mean they win their 2 games in hand. They win the game against Vancouver, which means the Canucks could only get 4 more points, while Edmonton could get 10 more points and would leapfrog for the top of the Pacific. So both teams control their own destiny. The Canucks do have the tiebreaker and will retain the tiebreaker. I'm like 99% sure there's no chance for Edmonton to take that back, which means it's Edmonton has to outright beat the Canucks. They have to get 1 more point than Vancouver. So the Canucks sort of have a 5-point lead right now with 3 games to go for them, 5 for Edmonton.
You think the Canucks do it?
I do. And I even if they don't win that game against Edmonton, I don't think Edmonton's winning all 5 games. That's hard to do. Unfortunately, this is being silly and not letting me pull up the Canucks schedule. There we go. Canucks do have 3 pretty tough games though, right? They have the Oilers on Saturday. Oilers, I believe, are on a back-to-back. Yeah. They play Arizona on Friday, and then they go back-to-back against Vancouver on Saturday. Oilers also have a back-to-back on the last 2 games of the season. They go from the Coyotes on the 17th to the Avalanche on the 18th with travel. And that's less of an easy flight going from, Phoenix to Colorado than some of the other ones. So I don't think Edmonton wins out. They do have some pretty easy opponents other than us and Colorado. But that Saturday night game is essentially, it could very well be for the division. If Edmonton wins their game against Arizona on Friday, it's basically going to be the game for the division.
Right. Yeah. So let's map this out. Let's say Edmonton does beat Arizona. So they have 103 in 78. They're one game back, 2 points back. Yeah, we beat them, then we move up to 80 games. They go at 79, and we are 4 up on them. Yeah, then they'd have to, you're right, get 5 other 6 points while we lose our last 2. Yeah. You're right. Canucks just got to win on Saturday.
Just got to win. That's the big one. Look, regardless, the Canucks will have home ice. Really, it's determining if you play the 3rd team in the Pacific or if you play the Nashville Predators. That's frankly the only thing it would determine. I guess technically the Predators could fall the wild card too.
I doubt it. But you're right. They could. But I don't think that'll happen. I mean, I guess if
LA and Vegas would both have to leapfrog them, which is pretty unlikely.
So Canucks fans, those of you that still don't want the Canucks to play the Kings or Vegas, then all you got to do is win your division. So there's not a possibility, well, a very rare possibility. If you come in second in your division, then it's a not a possibility. It's going to be for sure. You have to play one of
the
Vegas
two.
or LA. You got it. So, yeah, it'd be so nice if Arizona somehow beats Edmonton.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. It'd be beautiful.
It will be.
Yeah, I watched a bit of that Edmonton Vegas game tonight. Vegas looked not good. Edmonton looked great without Connor McDavid, mind you.
Yeah.
Who knows if they have McDavid back? And look, if I'm the Oilers, am I pushing for McDavid to come back for a Friday night game against the Coyotes or even the game against the Canucks, like leading into the playoffs? Maybe not. If he's not 100%, you might be thinking, hey, let's get him to 100% for the playoffs start. Similar about to the Canucks with Lindholm and with Demco at this point. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
By the way, Lindholm looked really good. Ray Ferraro was talking about how good he looked, and that one timer, that was nice. Ended up in a weird position the way he shot it, but for him to go to that position and get that much on it, I was very happy to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, what happened to lower body McDavid? What happened to him?
No idea. That's all I've heard. He apparently it was up to him whether he played today or not, but he didn't come out for warm up. So we will see. There's all the discourse going on about who do you want to play in round one. And there's some people who are saying, hey, you take whoever you get, you beggars can't be choosers. You can't be like, oh, we want this team. Cause look at what happened last year when all the Toronto fans were like, oh, we want Florida, and Florida killed them or whatever it ended up being. Is that, do you really want that? But I'm thinking of it as like, okay, the Oilers scare me because they've been in the postseason. I mean, you're not going to play the Oilers, I know, but like this plays in. Vegas, I think, would be a pretty even series, but the idea of Mark Stone coming back is concerning. Aiden Hill is back. He got shelled tonight, but it was his first game back in a month. He's going to be fine. He's a really good goalie. So that Vegas scares me. LA scares me as well a little bit. They've got a system that works in the playoffs.
But they not only scare us, Parker, they bore us.
Right. They're boring and they've been beating the Canucks. That's the big thing as well. But what the biggest thing to me is I'm looking at 3 teams in the Pacific that frankly I don't really want to face. And I'm not saying the Nashville Predators are going to be a cakewalk. They've been fantastic lately. UC Saros scares me. Philip Forsberg has like 46 goals this year. But if the Canucks play the Predators, that means you do have Edmonton playing against one of Vegas or LA.
Yep.
That's a team that's getting knocked out that you now don't have to face on your way, right? It's a big deal. The teams, you need a little bit of luck. If you have to play, Vegas, and then you have to play Edmonton, and then you have to play Dallas on your way to the Stanley Cup final. Like, what a gauntlet, right? Like that is 3 teams that you're probably the underdog against potentially. And that really makes it tough for you to win. But if you can take Nashville, let's say the Canucks beat Nashville. Well, now, some of the other teams in the Pacific are gone. Two of them are done. Right.
Yep.
Now you only have to beat the other one. And maybe that's LA or maybe that's Vegas. And that's not as big of a deal for the Canucks. And then when you get to the Western Conference final, maybe you get Dallas, or maybe something crazy happens. And I mean, it's still Nashville it's still Colorado,
Winnipeg, Colorado. Yeah.
Which is not great. So, but then it gets extra tough. So look, if you want this team to win the Stanley Cup, you need a little bit of luck, and getting the worst opponents possible is the way that you get lucky.
Well said. I can't add anything to that analysis. That was pretty good. I will add, Lucas, our resident relocation guy, says, big news. AHL is heading to Tempe. Well, the AHL is heading to Tempe. The Tucson Roadrunners are moving to Mullet after the Coyotes. Okay. Well,
yeah. Do you want to watch the farm team? The guys who are going to play for your team that doesn't play here anymore one day? Like, that's tough.
Yeah, that's almost as bad, or maybe it's worse than what was it? Weren't Abbotsford Heat Calgary Flames farm team?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went to a couple of those games and they were dead.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucas, by the way. Thank you for the 2 donations. And Parker, I think I told you, I went to my first Abbotsford Canucks game finally on Saturday, and it was good. It was good hockey. It was
Mhm.
excellent. Happy to see
Great
Lecker Mackey.
atmosphere.
Yep, I was very impressed, very impressed. And by the way, I think Brendan Batchelor is watching our show, or you're just as smart as him, or even smarter, because he just tweeted out, we have a rare situation right now where both the Canucks and Oilers control their own destiny. So he said the exact same thing. Yeah.
Batch, if you are
True.
watching, I think our beer league teams play each other in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh,
So strap in. Let's go.
hey, what night is that? I might come watch. I might just cheer. Do you
I
guys
think
get any fans in your bear league teams games?
Not very many. I think it's
Okay.
Monday, and I think it's his team. Maybe I should check that, considering it's a Monday and we usually do a show on Monday.
Yeah, that would help.
Oh,
Considering
it's
it
good.
just
It's at 7:30, so it's
all
not too
right.
late.
Awesome.
And I don't know if that's his team. I think it is though. I'll check.
Right.
I'll check. Are the
All right.
Canucks on the road?
They're no.
No, they'll be back
they're
by then,
home.
so he'll play.
Okay.
That's
We
tough.
know he'll play. So before we get to the people to end off this Wednesday show, I want to ask you just overall, the only player that's missing now is Thatcher Demko.
Yeah.
And he was eligible to come off, but there's no point bringing him off if he's not going to play, right? Keep that cap savings going. So he's still on the IR right now. Now they're talking about this Saturday. So do you see him playing all three? Do you see him going Saturday at Edmonton, because that's huge, play Tuesday at home against Calgary, and then not even make the trip to Winnipeg on Thursday? Like, what do you see?
That's my ideal. If he's ready to go Saturday, you play him Saturday, you play him Tuesday, and then you don't even put him on the plane back to Winnipeg on the Thursday. I think that's far and away the best decision. It looks like, based on some potential leaks that came out today, the Canucks first round might not start until Monday the 22nd, based on a TV schedule that I saw.
Tell me about this. We need to know this, like, for our show too.
I think so. The playoffs are on the 20th, but the
Yes.
Canucks last game is on the 18th. So my logic was thinking, okay, the Canucks probably don't play till the 21st, the Sunday.
Correct.
However, I saw a TV schedule thing come out. I don't know if it was from ESPN or TBS or something.
Yeah.
And it said, and it had they had 2 games on their schedule on the 20th, the Saturday, 2 games on their schedule on the Sunday, and 4 games on their schedule on the Monday.
Right.
Which that might just be, the same ones on the Saturday as the Monday, the same series. That is possible, but it could be that that's game 1 for all the series. We don't know, but frankly, that's my preferred option. I would love for it to stretch until the 22nd. One, because this show gets a lot more interesting. We'll have to figure out what we're doing there.
Live from the arena. Yeah.
I don't know. And then my other thing is I have tickets to game 5, and I'm potentially out of town for game 5 if it doesn't if game 5 is on May 1st, I can't go. If game 5 is on May 2nd, I have to give Air Canada more money to change my flight back.
Right. And you know what's so funny? This is real practical. It's not even first world problems, because I know that everyone in the chat, you guys are thinking the same thing. Like, you're trying to figure out when these games are going to align, because I know for me, if they start on Saturday the 20th, which I don't think they will, I agree with you, that's too soon after the 18th, I can't go, but I can go on Sunday the 21st, so I can do the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but I can't do the Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I literally I booked these flights a long time ago. It's for work too, so it's like, I was like, oh, I'm stuck in San Diego. Okay, I'm gonna take the late flight home because it's probably gonna be really nice out. And now I realize I don't land until 8:55 p.m. And if the Canucks play that night, well, there is a 7 a.m. flight that I can change to for $100. So if we do get to that point, that's the move I'm going to have to make.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So Demko's the biggest story then. We both agree, all things being equal, and he's healthy on the weekend, he goes Saturday and Tuesday, and he does not play on the Thursday. And then, you're right. If we don't play till Monday, technically that's almost a full week for him between games. Yeah.
And I think that's ideal. And honestly, if the Canucks have things sewn up, let's say the Canucks beat Edmonton on Saturday and Edmonton loses another game before that Thursday game against the Jets, and the Canucks have all but locked up the Pacific Division. There's a few guys you don't send on that plane. You don't send Demko. You probably don't send Pettersson or Lindholm or Miller or Hughes, frankly. And you PDG gets play, Oman gets play, Podkolzin, Mark Friedman, like Noah Juleson, get all those guys a game to end the season. If it doesn't matter, get everyone essentially a full week of rest leading into the playoffs.
Great point.
That would be excellent.
Yeah,
if possible.
That's a really, really good point. Okay, so first things first, one game at a time. Not to sound like a cliche, but we got to see what happens against Edmonton on Saturday, and even before that, we get to see what happens between them and Arizona. So it's going to be an interesting final week and a half end to the season. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good hockey the next week.
Yeah. So if we started 3 years ago, 2021, that was the end of the Canadian division, right? Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Then 2022 was the start of the Boudreaux era, the end of the season. Then end of 2023 was the start of the Tocchet era. Okay, so finally we're scoreboard watching, and we're talking about first place. We deserve it. Oh, I don't know.
So here's where we are.
Okay.
Overall, I'm just thinking from our show perspective. Canucks play Saturday.
Yep.
And then next Monday, I imagine we'll be here after the Canucks, or sorry, they don't play that night. But we'll be here on Monday, only really talking about one game, but I think more so talking about whatever the Oilers do over the next few days.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll have a good idea of what the Canucks are going to do for those two games.
Yeah.
The Canucks playoffs will start either Sunday or Monday in our estimations. So we might need to do a show prior to that Monday. I'm almost thinking instead of the Monday, and do like a preview for the series.
You're right.
But we'll figure that out. But I think we'll need to get creative.
I think you're onto something. If the series starts on the Monday, then if I'm at the game and you might be, maybe we do our show Sunday night as a preview, correct?
I think so. I think that's the move.
Yeah. If the series starts on Sunday, then we just keep our Monday show, right? But it won't start on Sunday.
Right. I don't think it might. It's either Sunday or Monday.
Okay.
It won't be Saturday is what we decided.
Right. Correct. So but everyone, we got 2 weeks to figure this out. This is only Wednesday the 10th. We still have our show on Monday the 15th, regular, unless you have softball.
Well, I'm skipping softball to play against Brendan Batchelor's team.
Okay.
Because that's
there's
important.
Sean. My son just walked in. One word to describe the game, Sean. Roller coaster. That's 2 words, but yes.
I disagree. That is 1 word.
Okay. Is it roller coaster?
Roller coasters 1 word.
Okay.
Unless I type it in and that's wrong. It's 2 words. Darn it.
Wait, I was going to give you the hyphen, but were you talking with no hyphen? There's no roller coaster with no hyphen.
Roller coaster tycoon. Roller coaster's 1 word. Okay. All right.
Fine.
That's the only time I think I've ever seen roller coaster in print.
All right, let's debate grammar later. We want to do 5 or 10 minutes of questions then?
Yeah, we got time. Let's go. It's early.
It's early. I'm surprised you're not asleep yet.
I had a cup of coffee during that game. I'm great.
All right, friends, pepper us with your questions.
Yeah. Questions would be great. By the way, while we're here, I want to talk about the Connor Garland thing from the Vegas game, him getting the chance, and then the post game with Kate, where he's just sitting there sort of soaking in the fan chants. That was so cool. I loved that.
That was cool. He was taken aback by it too.
He was like, he sort of sat there like before she even asked a question. He's just on the jumbotron sitting there. He's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Let's get.
And then she asked one last question about like the reception and like how does it feel with the, crowd being behind you? And he didn't even say a word. The crowd went crazy and he said, yep, that's good for me. And he walked away, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. You can tell. Yeah. And he was so humble after the game. You have 400 games, not a big milestone. I'm, why am I getting recognized for just putting my helmet on kind of thing?
Yeah. And he's like, I'm probably the worst player to ever have their name chanted in a stadium. Like, come on.
That's awesome. Hey, how creative are you? Lucas, he's given us donations. He deserves to have this question asked. If you had a choice, what would you name Utah's new NHL team?
I have no idea. I saw someone tweet that like, oh, when the New Orleans Jazz moved to Utah, they didn't bother changing the name, even though it had nothing to do with it. So maybe they just keep the Coyotes.
Utah Coyotes. That doesn't sound right.
It sounds terrible. What if you go Salt Lake Coyotes?
That's even better. Even that's better. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Salt Lake is better than Utah. Something about Utah it doesn't sound sportsy to me, but I like Salt Lake.
No, that's true. That's true. And then, yeah, I guess we can do a thorough analysis of how many teams are named after states versus cities on another day. But yes, good point. Good point.
It's mostly cities. I guarantee it.
All right, what do we got for questions? What do we got for questions?
Zhao says the refs have been noticeably worse as the season ends. This wasn't like this before. What happened? One, we care more.
Yes.
I think that's a big one. They have been noticeably worse though. I don't think, and I'm not saying it's one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
They generally have been noticeably worse. I have no idea why though.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We care more. These games seem to be meaning more, right? As we're chasing down a division title. So we start to notice things, especially when they don't go our way. And you're right. You and I both on this show and individually, we don't like to blame the refs, but we have to call it as we see it. And there were a couple tricky ones today for sure. But we had our chances too.
Yeah. Irvin says, in addition to backup goalies, there's one thing Canucks Nation absolutely adores, and that's underdog players who give all out effort on a consistent basis. I think this is the case in most markets. I agree. At least most, vocal markets. I mean, you see it, you look back on like Jeff Cowan, like back in the day, or like guys like that who get a big cult following behind them. But every team has those guys, right? I don't think it's a unique thing to maybe it's a more uniquely Canadian thing, but I think every sports city does that a little bit.
Who wins unsung, Dakota Joshua or Connor Garland?
I heard a good point. I think it was on Halford and Bruff, maybe earlier this week. They said, are those guys too sung to be unsung at this point? Right? Like Dakota Joshua, I mean, he's got like 17 goals or something silly. Like he's been fantastic. That's the thing about this market when this team is good. It's hard to have guys who are unsung, frankly.
Right.
Like Carson Soucy, maybe, he's an under the radar player and he's made a big difference, but he hasn't been as fantastic lately. Garland is kind of Garland and Josh are both obvious choices, but they've both been pretty sung as of late.
That's fair. Jed says, how's the slash after the hook on Hronek in overtime? Not a misconduct or unsportsmanlike penalty. At that point, they're probably, Parker, the refs are probably saying, we've given you enough. Like, this is pretty dramatic already, right? To give you a chance to win the game.
Yeah, it's rare to get two penalties at once. You look at Myers cross-checking the guy, like technically cross-checked him 4 times. He didn't get 8 minutes, right? Like they just don't do that, really. I didn't like it. I saw that too. I saw him hook him, and then as he's already down, he goes and slashes his stick. Okay, he's not going to score right now. But yeah, I don't know. That's
Well, here's an idea for unsung. How about Noah Juleson?
I don't think he's played enough. Like I think if you're getting scratched often, it's tough. If we're going most improved award, by far Noah Juleson. I mean, go back to us talking at the beginning of the season, like, why is Noah Juleson playing over Mark Friedman, and how many times we had that conversation, to now where it's like, oh, Noah Juleson's playing great. He's going to have a solid night. He's not going to make many mistakes. He has turned into a much different player, and that's great going into the playoffs when you're going to have injuries and you're going to need your 7th guy to step in occasionally. Having that be Juleson is going to be nice.
Yeah, very, very good. There's a vote for Ian Cole. I don't think he's had a good season.
Same. I haven't been big on Ian Cole this year. I think he had a good start, but he hasn't been great lately.
I wanted him to. By the way, I know we can wait till after the season ends because we have playoff games to cover now. But when we go back, Parker, and revisit our bets, I was so neutral to this team. Like I'm sure I undershot everything in our bets, like in that little
because we heavily overshot them the first 2 times. maybe that was the key. It was the reverse jinx. We helped.
That's true. I like this question from Sarah. What do you think the guys on the bench were saying to Hronek before his penalty shot? So they had that shot of Zadorov, Hughes, and someone else all time. So he was with the defense. Yeah, he was with the defenseman and Miller. And then didn't Rick Tocchet even say, "Don't listen to anyone. Just do what you're going to do."
That's what Ferraro was saying. Yeah, Ferraro was like, "Shut these guys out. You're the one taking the shot." It's tough though. I mean, you're a guy who he probably doesn't practice, penalty shots ever. Why would he? He's never going to take one unless it goes to the 13th round of a shootout.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the one of the lesser ideal options for who would get that shot. But I mean, smart play by Schmaltz to haul him down in that case.
Yeah. I wonder if the guy, truly, Parker, I wonder if the guys are saying, why don't you fake a slap shot or they're just saying, hey man, do whatever. I wonder what the attitude is on the bench.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's probably just to go out and do what you feel is going to work. I don't think you can really. I don't think you can really have any like if you get too specific, if it's a move you've not really done before, like you're not going to be comfortable doing it. I think you just got to go in and go for it.
Zal says one of them said to me, if you score this, you'll get 8 million.
Yeah, I saw people right before we started. There was some people frustrated right after the loss, and they were saying like, "Oh, what you're going to pay Hronek all that money now?" And it's like, well, that's not his job, right? His job's not to score on penalty shots. That's not supposed to happen.
Right.
So I wouldn't base. Not that I'm saying Hronek has been fantastic and deserves all the money in the world, but I don't think a penalty shot in overtime from a defenseman is something that you should be basing their contract futures on.
In hindsight, Japan 4 says, take the slap shot. You might, if you miss, you could hurt the goalie, or you might even have a better chance to score. I have no problem with that. It's rare, but I have no problem with after seeing what he did. Maybe that's hindsight talking.
Yeah, I think Hronek's more of a power than placement on the slap shot, though, which is a bit of a I think it's a real bad look if he walks in with a clapper right into the crest. Like that's gonna be like, okay, what was that? Right? Like that's a bit tough. But who knows? Yeah, it's tough.
Okay,
if he does that fake, he gets the goalie to bite and he beats him to the post. I mean, we're talking about what a great play.
So I would love your opinion on this. I'm not that guy who laments on past trades, but obviously we Canucks fans know that Dylan Guenther was picked with the 9th pick that went to Arizona when we brought back Ekman Larsson and Garland. Again, without being that guy, does that cross your mind still, or do you not worry about it, or do you like, man, this guy would look good in a Canucks uniform?
Yeah, it crosses my mind in the way that like I hear his name and I'm like, oh, that's that guy. But it's. Do you think Penguins fans every time they saw Marcus Naslund score a goal, they were like, oh, good thing we got Alex Stojanov. I don't know if that's the case so much. Right now, Connor Garland is doing fantastic things for this team, and I think is more valuable to this team than Dylan Guenther would be, because Dylan Guenther right now on this team would fill a role that, frankly, it's a role that's filled, right?
Yeah, Viper agrees with you. He said Guenther wouldn't be on our roster right now.
Yeah, they'd probably have him in the AHL, getting games developing.
Sure.
However, it was a bad trade, but it wasn't because of the Connor Garland portion. It's because of the Oliver Ekman-Larsson portion. That was always my problem with it from the moment that deal happened. I made a video minutes after, and that's what I said. I said, I love Connor Garland. I think this Oliver Ekman-Larsson contract is an absolute anchor. And what happened? They had to buy out that contract. That's the difference. If that trade was strictly first round, 9th overall for Connor Garland, it's a trade that we would have looked back on, at least for the last couple of years, and been like, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. But now the way Connor Garland is playing, we're looking at it as like, and again, ignore the Oliver Ekman-Larsson part. It's like, yeah, it's probably a pretty fair trade at this point, right? You have a roster player in Connor Garland who's, second line caliber, playing third line minutes, and a play driver on this team as of right now. But that Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout is what makes that trade so bad.
Right.
But I think Garland has redeemed it to the point where the Dylan Guenther portion, I don't think hurts that much. It's the cap hit portion of the buyout. That's the only thing that's going to hurt.
Yep. Totally fair. Very, very, very well said. A point's a point. Can't help but feel
it's a point. It helps. It's better than none. Because if they got none, then the Oilers would, be that closer. Not a lot of games left. Making up 4 points isn't easy. And sure, they have 2 games in hand. And they play some pretty bad teams, frankly. But we saw the Canucks almost lose to they did lose to the Coyotes, but they almost lost in regulation to the Coyotes today. And we've seen the Oilers lose. You know, the Oilers lost to the Blues a couple weeks ago, right? Like it happens. They lost to the Sens 3 weeks ago. They, you know, weird things happen in this league. To think, oh, the Oilers are gonna, you know, ignore the Canucks game, they're gonna win the other 4. There's a real chance they lose to the Sharks, and we're like, oh, all right, we're good. You know, it's the NHL's full of randomness.
Yep, it's gonna be an exciting playoffs for sure. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, folks, thank you all for coming out late on a Monday or Wednesday, I guess. So used to saying Monday. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like and make sure you're subscribed here. If you missed any part, you can rewind back to the beginning or find it in a matter of minutes on your favorite podcast platform. Clay, any parting words? 3 games to go.
Yeah, good to be back, Parker. And yeah, because of the short week technically between this show and our next show, we'll only have 1 game to talk about. So we'll analyze the heck out of that Saturday game against the Oilers because of its ramifications as well. And I think when we're sitting here together on Monday, we'll be able to better project maybe the entire playoff side on the West, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and once we get to that show, the Canucks and the Oilers will play 3 games by then. The Canucks will play just the one against the Oilers. They will have played the same amount of games, and we'll see where the chips lie.
Love it. Love it. Sounds good to me. Good to be back, brother. Good to be back.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.